Welcome to Metal Gear Explained. Today is an exciting time because I want to talk about when to expect news for this game, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and what you should be playing in preparation. This is something that a lot of new players have been asking me, and the core players who already love the series has been excited as well. So we're gonna dive into all of that. And I want to share some opinions and give some thoughts. So make sure you also do the same in the comments because I do have a giveaway of this game. We're going to give away multiple copies of this game. And I'm very excited about that because you deserve it. So leave a comment, be subscribed, and I will select winners and announce them here on my videos. So lock in for that. Should be a great time. Okay, now to get right to the point when it comes to when to expect news, I do believe that Konami wants to do a monthly show like they are been doing with the Hotline production. You don't know what that is. We covered it extensively, but now we're basically going down the rabbit hole towards a regular routine for them, I would assume, in August. Now, the one thing about these shows that I can say that is straightforward is that it's time consuming preparation. There's a lot behind the scenes. So they can't just do them every week or every day or anything like we would want as players. But they want to give you the best that they can. Remember, this is part of their budget for the game. So if you wanted one every day, then the game won't have the biggest budget that it needs. So they are going to do it monthly, I would assume. But since there's going to be news, which I'm going to talk about now, on August 25th, in between the 21st and 25th of August, you are going to get Gamescom, which is one of the biggest times in the gaming industry. And I would assume that if they don't have a show before that, that they will have one during that week to be able to get the buzz going and get the news out there. And trust me, those shows are awesome. The most recent one, they were honest. They read like very harsh comments and they talked openly about things. And I really appreciated that. And I think hopefully they can, the fans do respect when you're transparent. So that's awesome. Now, second to that is the big deal for Tokyo Game Show. That is the biggest, and that's in September. So you got August and September right next to each other. So they might just wait and have another show during that time as well. That's supposed to be between the 26th and 29th of September. But again, they could just have their own separate shows in the start of the month. Personally, that is something I would prefer. But again, we don't know what their game plan is at the moment. So we don't want to try to overspeak, let's just say. But it has been 4 weeks since they dropped their last, show, which I loved. But again, we might not get that every single time. So just depends on how it works. But just remember Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show, two of the biggest for Konami. They always have a presence there, and I would assume they're going to have one as well for that. And that's that when it comes to when to expect official news. But I did want to get into this bigger topic. This is a very deep one, and there's a lot of back and forth. So y'all can leave your comments and get into it. Let's just say you're a new player and you've never played the series before and you want to save Snake Eater as your first time experience Metal Gear with that game and don't want to play the old original version. And I've been asked a lot, what games should I play? Which ones should I avoid? And that's why I felt like it was important to make this video to talk about that. And for those that are big time fans, I think this could be great for you as well to kind of get the feel of this again. because there are some really important things that I'm going to address here to help people remember and understand why this is probably gonna be relevant for everyone, even the new players. So, first and things first is there's too many spoilers in the series to just play the whole series because they reflect on each other. They talk about it, specifically part four, for example. It touches on every single one that it came before it, and even the ones that became after it. Part four is kind of like a prophet of like, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, and so there's things to avoid, and we're gonna go down the list. I don't want you to play in chronological order unless you're actually going to play Snake Eater. And I'm going to go ahead and showcase that very quickly. Right here, you have Snake Eater, and you've got this on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, the PCs, Nintendo Switch. You can play all these games I'm about to showcase right off of the consoles that you might own right now. But I wanted to talk about the Snake Eater. This is the chronological order game, but it's actually the 5th game that came out in the series. So this should be called Metal Gear Solid 5. Is actually the real name for this game that we're waiting for part 2 and we love so much. But Snake Eater is actually part 5. And I'm going to break down where and how I would think a new player should go. If you're willing and you're able and you want to play the 2 original experiences, I would recommend this highly just to get a feel. And I'm not going to spoil no stories when I break this stuff down right now, but I do want to just kind of give you the overall experience when it comes to what to expect. Okay, these are retro games and they're not modern, so if you're not into it, you're probably not going to want to touch these. But there's some special stuff, and they pioneered not only a genre but a lot of cool mechanics in these games. And you play as Solid Snake. Solid Snake is the son of Big Boss, and we find that out later. But in the beginning, you don't know about any of this stuff, and spoilers there, but that's not a big deal. That's as far as I go as far as spoilers. But you're playing as Solid Snake, and there might be some Big Boss references and some references to things to come, because they kind of play on each other. But these are the 2 originals from 1980 and 1990. Original. That is very good to start off with because it's going to help you get a part of the universe, fight all the bosses, and go through that experience, find out who Big Boss is, and deal with that type of experience. Now, this is where the game starts to take hold. When you talk about Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 1 is the most classic, well-known version of the game, and it is so good in my opinion. I absolutely loved it. Came out in 1998, and you're playing as Solid Snake again. This is the original part 3. Like I said, these games are confusing when it comes to official numbers. This is the 3rd release of this in the series when it comes to canon games, and they just kind of call it Metal Gear Solid because it was that 3D feel. It had the cinematic graphics, and you really start to learn about Big Boss. You got to learn about your brother. You got to learn about so many different things in this game that open the door for the full series, because there's so much curious things and storylines that kind of hint to what happens in Snake Eater, kind of hint to who Big Boss really was. And this is what I would prefer a new player to kind of experience. And then we go down to part 2, and part 2 to me was what I call a retrospective game, because it wanted you to step outside of the shoes of Solid Snake. We just spent 3 games playing as Solid Snake, and this was the 4th Metal Gear game, and you got to play as Raiden. Raiden is the main character in this game, and he goes through a lot, and Big Boss, Solid Snake, and so much more are involved in all of this, and it's a part of the whole scenario that started off with Snake Eater, and it has a big impact even in this game, which is probably the most furthest game to the core family scenario. And this is where I would expect for fans to say, wow, this is wild. Because it does have some mind blowing story stuff, but in reality, it all ties to the same concepts, themes, memes, scenes from the series. This is going to take you to that next level. And then, of course, there's Snake Eater. And we're not going to talk at all about this because I don't want to spoil it. But Snake Eater is incredible, and it has a beautiful story and amazing stuff. And it's the pioneer when it comes to, let's just say, inspiration for what happens for the rest of the series heavily. Now, I did want to touch on other games that you can play outside of Snake Eater if you're not going to play that one. But that's the first order that I would recommend because it builds up to like, who is this big boss guy? And then we get the prologue, the literal origin story, which is Snake Eaters. After Snake Eaters, you do have a chance to jump in and avoid part 4 because part 4 is the grand finale. It's like the literal chronological order finale, which you don't want to touch at all. Now, there's a conversation that we can have about which of these next games, and you guys in the comments can kind of share your opinions. Which of the next games are safe for somebody new trying to experience the game? I don't want to hold you back from experiencing the series. Go for it. But I will say that these next ones do spoil a lot of what happens. Peace Walker specifically is the one that I didn't want to try to talk about the story, but in Peace Walker, you do have a lot of spoilers for Snake Eater in there. But it's a good game to get a grasp of what happens to Snake and the evolution that starts to happen. From there, you got Ground Zero, you have the Phantom Pain. Those two are tied together. All three of them are tied together into what happens to Big Boss and what happens to the series, because everything that affects him affects everybody else, and how it started to shape up what we see in the future, because those games were in an earlier time zone rather than later. And so those are the core pillars that I would say to play. There's plenty of spin-offs, like 13 spin-offs that you can try out. The only ones that I really recommend as far as spin-offs is Portable Ops, Revengeance. Those two are very spectacular. And there's still some fun other ones if you want to try them out. But again, story-wise, avoiding part 4 would be my number one tip. And then Peace Walker does have some spoilers. I feel like Ground Zeroes doesn't touch on it as much, and Phantom Pain as well. So you can go through almost all the series and not get as many spoilers for the Snake Eater series. But again, maybe you want to just play the awesome creation that they have here, which I could showcase, that you can get on PlayStation. I would assume it's pretty cheap right now. $40 for the Master Collection, and you're gonna get all the games I just kind of showcased, mostly the first 5. And mostly you can get these separately as well, by the way. They have them individually on sale. But this right here, top tier stuff, the origin story, and you can play in any version that you would want. I recommend playing this version, but I do understand some people just want to go with the new experience. I am a big time veteran of Metal Gear, so pretty much played every game over 10 times when it comes to the 9 canon experiences. But this is the core And this is what I kind of recommend and say, why not go for it and enjoy it, because it's a good time in my opinion. And we're going to do a little bit of comparison here while I talk about a few things. You know, in the end of the day, gaming is inspirational, motivational, emotional, fun, laughs, challenging, way to connect with others, and the art in it is beautiful. And whether you're one of those stay true to the original and don't want to even play the new one, or you're somebody like, I just want to try this new graphics, new gameplay mechanics, either way, you're welcome in this community, because Metal Gear Solid to me is love, peace, and joy for me. It's been the greatest entertainment tool, better than any movie, better than any music, better than anything in the world. For me, this series has meant that much. So when there's other people who love it as much as I do, I'm very embracive of them. So you are welcome in my community. I'm going to be working on my Discord, so you guys can jump in there for Metal Gear content and hang out with me. And as a reminder, I do have the giveaway. I'm going to do multiple giveaways for a code of this game. We don't have the release date yet, but I will get you the code, a copy of the game, I mean. And I'm excited for the future as we go forward of what Metal Gear can continue to give us. Okay? Hope y'all enjoyed it. I do have some amazing stuff breaking down the series in detail. You can check out popping up on the screen right now. See you there.